For some Hollywood actors, basic prep isn't enough when going into a new movie. Learning lines and getting into the mind of their characters sometimes just isn't enough. Some actors go above and beyond, isolate themselves, destroy their bodies and put themselves in uncomfortable situations in order to get the desired result. So today on Top 10 Beyond the Screen, I'm going to be counting down our list of the top 10 times actors took method acting too far. Let's jump in. In at 10, the cast of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is a 1975 comedy drama film based on the 1962 novel of the same name. The plot follows a man who, in order to escape the prison labor, fakes insanity and is shifted to the special ward for the mentally unstable. In this ward, he must rise up against a cruel nurse, Ratched. The cast of the Best Picture winning film, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, included Jack Nicholson. All lived at the psychiatric ward where the movie was filmed, interacting with real patients and undergoing group therapy sessions, some of which were secretly filmed by director Milo Forman without their knowledge. In at 9, Jamie Dornan, The Fall. The Fall is a British-Irish crime drama starring Gillian Anderson as Detective Superintendent Stella Gibson and Jamie Dornan as serial killer Paul Spector. Now, Dornan wanted to experience the real thrill of the chase in order to get into the character for his role as Paul Spector. So, I quote, "On the tube, I followed a woman off the train one day to see what it felt like to pursue someone like that. Very creepy. That's a lot. Imagine being that woman, being followed by Jamie Dornan, but don't worry, he's just an actor. Still a man following you, isn't it?" Coming in at 8, Sylvester Stallone, Rocky IV. While filming Rocky IV, Stallone asked co-star Dolph Lundgren to try and really knock him out, which is an absolutely terrible idea. Even Stallone later recalled, I quote, "Later that night my blood pressure goes up to 260. I go to the hospital, they put me in an emergency jet and fly me back to America. Next thing I know, I'm in intensive care for 5 days with nuns walking around. He hit my heart so hard that it banged against my ribs and began to swell. And that usually happens in a car accident. So, I was hit by a truck. Bloody hell. Chill out." In at 7, Billy Bob Thornton's Slingblade. Slingblade is a 1996 drama written and directed by Billy Bob Thornton. Set in rural Arkansas, the film tells the story of a man named Carl Childers who has an intellectual disability and is released from a psychiatric hospital, where he has lived since killing his mother and her lover when he was 12 years old, and the friendship he develops with the young boy and his mother. Billy Bob Thornton depended on a very unusual and painful method to fully nail his character Carl in the movie. His character had a very unique and signature shuffle, and in order to get it right, Thornton placed crushed glass inside of his shoes, forcing him to limp around. However, it paid off, with the actor earning an Oscar nomination for the role, so pain is gain. In at 6, Nicolas Cage, Birdie. Birdie is a 1984 drama based on William Wharton's 1978 novel of the same name. Set in 1960s Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the film focuses on the friendship between two teenage boys, Birdie and a Colombato. The story is presented in flashbacks with frame narrative depicting the traumatic experience upon serving in the Vietnam War. Now, in order to physically feel the pain his Vietnam vet character did, Nick Cage had a handful of teeth pulled without anesthesia. He also spent around 5 weeks with his face entirely wrapped in bandages. I quote, "The reactions on the street were brutal, men and women laughing, kids staring. When I took the bandages off, my skin was all infected because of acne and ingrown hairs." In at 5, Val Kilmer, The Doors. In order to secure the part of Jim Morrison in Oliver Stone's The Doors, actor Val Kilmer spent thousands of dollars producing an 8-minute music video of him singing one of the singer's songs. And it worked, because he got the role. But it didn't stop there. Once he booked the job, Kilmer then went on to memorize 50 Doors songs, and even reportedly wore some of Morrison's clothes and frequented his favorite Hollywood hangout spots. The actor also spent hundreds of hours interrogating Paul Rothchild, one of the producers of the rock band and a consultant of the film. By the end of the entire process, Rothchild stated that, I quote, "Kilmer knew Jim Morrison better than Jim ever knew himself." He nailed it to the extent that the Doors themselves had difficulty telling whether it was Val singing or Jim singing. Early on, I'd bring them into a recording studio and I randomly switched Val and Jim, and they guessed wrong 80% of the time. That is insane. Coming in at 4, Daniel Day-Lewis, The Crucible and Gangs of New York. This one is a lot of a lot. The Crucible is a 1996 historical drama movie adapted from the play of the same title, which was inspired by the Salem witchcraft trials. For his role in the film, Daniel Day-Lewis committed to living on the set, which was a replica of a colonial village. Essentially, there was no electricity or running water. He also went on to build his own 17th century house using only the tools America's settlers would have had available to them at the time. Not too terrible, but things got worse during Gangs of New York. Gangs of New York is of course a 2002 historical film about Amsterdam, a man who sets out to avenge the death of his father, who was killed in a gang fight at the hands of a crime lord, Bill the Butcher. Whilst doing so, he gets caught up in the Civil War. Now, during production, DayLewis's devotion to his craft almost cost him his health. He refused to wear a modern-day winter coat on set during filming and in turn caught pneumonia. Yikes. Idiot. In at 3, Adrien Brody, the pianist. Adrien Brody dropped 30 pounds in order to portray Holocaust survivor Ladislav Spilman in the movie The Pianist and actually learned to play piano, supposedly practicing 4 hours a day every day. However, it didn't end there. Brody decided he needed to feel as lost as Spilman did after he was forced out of the life he knew. I quote, "I gave up my apartment, I sold my car, I disconnected the phones and I left. I took 2 bags and my keyboard and moved to Europe." As you would expect, his girlfriend at the time dumped him, but the sacrifice was worth it because Brody went on to win the Academy Award for Best Actor at the 2003 Academy Awards. Coming in at 2, Shia LaBeouf, The Necessary Death of Charlie Countryman and Fury. Charlie Countryman is a 2013 American-Romanian romantic drama directed by Frederick Bond in his directorial debut, and starring Shia LaBeouf, Evan Rachel Wood, and Mads Mikkelsen. The plot is simple. In Romania, an American tourist falls for the estranged wife of a brutal gangster. So, when LaBeouf heard that his Charlie Countryman character dropped acid during one particular scene, Shia wanted the scene to be as realistic as possible. So, what did he do? He took LSD, then filmed his trip, and sent the video to his co-star Evan Rachel Wood for feedback. Yeah, I mean, good for him, I guess. But let's discuss Fury. Fury is a 2014 American war film written and directed by David Ayer and starring Brad Pitt, Shia LaBeouf, and Logan Lerman. The film portrays US tank crews in Nazi Germany during the final days of World War II. The day after Shia landed his role in the movie, I quote, "I joined the US National Guard. I was baptized, accepted Christ in my heart, tattooed my surrender and became a chaplain's assistant to Captain Yates for the 41st Infantry. I spent a month living on a forward operating base. Then I linked up with my cast and went to Fort Irwin. I pulled my tooth out, knifed my face up, and I spent days watching horses die. I didn't bathe for 4 months." It's a lot, even to read out loud. It's a lot to process. And finally in at number 1, Christian Bale, The Machinist. Christian Bale is known for going hard when it comes to new movie roles, with the actor infamous for drastically gaining and losing weight. The 6-foot-tall Bale famously dropped 60 pounds to play a severe insomniac in the psychological thriller The Machinist, and within just 6 weeks gained it all back for his role in Batman Begins. His Machinist co-star Michael Ironside suggested that Bale had not have gone to such extreme lengths had screenwriter Scott Cozart taken time to alter the script. I quote, "The writer is only about 5'6", and he put his own weights in. And then Chris did the film and Chris said, 'No, don't change the weights, I want to see if I can make them.' So those weights he writes on the bathroom wall in the film are his actual weights in the film." Well, there we have it. Do you guys agree with our list? Were there any actors that we missed? Leave us all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below, and perhaps we can do a part 2. And on that note, if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another Beyond the Screen vid. And until next time, see you later. Stallone asked co-star Dolph Lundgren. I'm having a hard time. He's nailed it to the extent that the doors themselves had difficulty telling whether it was a. Now during production, DayLewis devoted. The 6-foot-tall Bale famously dropped 60 pounds to play.